Today's video will be a good video because today we are asking the question, how good is Race Driver Grid really? Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it. Oh yes, Race Driver Grid. Race Driver Grid was developed and published by Codemasters back in 2008. Everybody knows this, so let me just start the analysis video. As always, we are starting the analysis video by analyzing the graphics first. Graphically, for a game released in 2008, the graphics are very good. The graphics, well, actually, Race Driver Grid just may be the best looking game graphically back in 2008. Well, if we're excluding other genres, I'm talking purely racing games here. To prove my point, let's compare this game to other games that also came out in 2008. Trackmania United Forever, iRacing, Score International Baja 1000, Superstar Racing, no, not the one by Milestone, that's a completely different game, Synctel Ultimate Race, GP vs Superbike, Crash Time 2, Nikita Speedy Pirates, and of course the big one, Need for Speed Undercover. I would argue that Race Driver Grid looks way better than anything else, and honestly, I can't think of any other game that looks better than this on the top of my head. And the graphical option really show this. The game perfectly supports widescreen resolutions. You can display the game on multiple monitors. It even works in other aspect ratios perfectly, like the ultra widescreen ones. There are minor problems with it, but I'll get to it later. Sorry for that, sadly. It also runs in 4K, but I don't know if it works perfectly. I couldn't check it, so sorry about that. The game also runs very smoothly. It can run above 120 FPS, so that's always good. There is VSync, there is anti-aliasing. The game supports MSAA, CSAA, and QSAA anti-aliasing. However, NVIDIA users can also use SGSSAA anti-aliasing. However, like I've mentioned before, there are problems. Let's talk about them right now. Let's start with the widescreen resolutions first. So I did say that the game supports every widescreen resolution perfectly, and that is true for the most part. Sometimes the game just softlocks the resolution at 1280 by 1024 and the game doesn't display anything higher, but don't worry, there is a workaround for this. Here's my advice: if native resolutions aren't displaying, this may occur on systems with very low or very high video memory. You can override the resolution, thankfully. You have to go to the folder where the game is installed, go to System, open the Hardware Settings Restrictions XML file with a text editor, and then find the following line and remove it. resmem 270 max width 1280. Just remove it, save the file, and you're good to go. I should also mention that when you override the resolution, there might be a small problem. It's not gonna happen all the time. It depends on your system, on your PC, really. It can crash to desktop after you use this workaround. So if you edit this, the file, the game crashes to the desktop when launching. You can replace all of the contents of hardware settings restrictions XML file with this small text. XML version 1.0 encoding UTF-8 hardware settings restrictions, hardware settings restrictions. You can find all of this on PC Gaming Wiki, don't worry. Problem number 2. There's no anisotropic filtering. This speaks for itself. Problem number 3. Since the game is 15 years old now, you will be able to run the game in very high frame rates. And I hate to say it, but you have to cap the frame rate. Why? Because if you don't cap the frame rate, your flashback time will be very short. The flashback uses frames to calculate time. Higher FPS lowers the amount of time that can be rewound, making it less useful. To fix this, you had to set the refresh rate on your monitor on 60 Hz and enable VSync on game options. Without this, the flashback feature, the flashback mechanic is unusable. Usually I tell people to disable VSync because it can mess with your game performance, but in this game you have to play with VSync. Otherwise your experience will be much worse. And the fourth problem, there's no FOV slider. Thankfully there is a workaround for this. You can use the grid FOV hack. You download the grid FOV hack, you extract it to the installation folder, then you run the program and you set the desired FOV. Simple as that. However, there is one small issue with this. It's not compatible with the main DLC packs. That's bad. There are so many other problems with this game due to its age. However, those 4 problems are the most important ones. If you want to know about other ones, just go to the PC Gaming Wiki, type in the search bar Race Driver Grid, and then you will find a solution to every problem in the game. So no worries. Also, the game didn't stutter, it didn't lag, but it crashed like crazy when I tried to record anything. So if this footage is very weird, well, now you know why. Oh yeah, the PC release is good, it just has problems, mainly because the game is 15 years old, and obviously, a game that is 15 years old is very hard to run on modern machines. Don't let this discourage you, you can still play this game on PC, you just have to fix every single problem, otherwise your experience will be pretty bad. Okay, it's time to talk about the story. I think this game doesn't have the story, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, there's your co-driver, or should I say, this guy that sometimes talk to your ear just to tell you how well you're performing and stuff. But other than that, I didn't really notice anything story related. Even the progression system feels like it. Oh, sorry, I meant to say even the progression system shows it. Oh boy, I can already imagine the comment section saying that I need to improve on my English or just improve my English in general. Oh boy, I hope this doesn't happen this time. It happened in my previous video, I really hope that it doesn't happen this time. Please, don't pay attention to this too much. Anyways, it's time to talk about the gameplay. So I think to myself, what can I say about the gameplay of Race Driver Grid that hasn't been said already? There are so many reviews of the game, and everyone said everything that I wanted to say, and I want this video to be different than others. Unfortunately, I can't really do that. Also, all those reviewers covered everything in depth, so I thought to myself, you know what? I'll just cover the basics here. I think that will be good enough for this video. So yeah, I'm just going to cover the basics, like I've said. Let's talk about the disciplines first. There's grip racing, races involving a variety of classes including GT, open wheel, pro muscle, pro tuned, and touring cars. Drift. Points are awarded for getting the car sideways. Drift challenges include Drift GP, Drift Battle, Freestyle Drift, and Downhill Drift. Togue, I think that's how you pronounce it. Head-to-head racing on narrow Japanese mountain roads. Events include Protog and Midnight Tog. Again, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this incorrectly. Endurance. Longer races including 24 hours of Le Mans. And Demolition Derby. The winner has to finish first by any means, including being the only remaining car. Now let's talk about the damage system. If players severely damage parts of their car, the corresponding icon will light up in the HUD indicating the severity from yellow to red. Gears. Damage prevents cars to reach top speed and reduces ability to change gear fluidly. Suspension. Damage affects road holding and cornering. Steering. Damage affects vehicle responsiveness and severe damage causes it to pull to one side. Engine. Damage reduces performance, such as speed and acceleration. Wheels. Damage reduces stability and handling. What about the difficulty levels? Players can set the difficulty level for each event. It affects the ability of the opponents, number of flashbacks, and driving assistance is customizable as well. Now let's talk about the flashback real quick, because this is a brand new feature introduced in this game. The game includes flashback, an instant replay feature. From an in-race replay, players can rewind to a desired previous moment and resume the race from there. Flashbacks are limited, becoming fewer the higher the difficulty level selected, and in Grid World there is a cash bonus for not using them. Driving views. The game includes 5 camera views, including a first-person camera head cam inside each car's cockpit. What about the game modes? There are a lot of game modes. What about Grid World, for example? Grid World is the player's racing career in the game. The two main goals are becoming the world's top driver and to own the world's most successful racing team. The podium events, as well as cars, are divided into 3 world regions. Europe. Mostly traditional circuit racing in a variety of touring, GT and open wheel championships. This region contains some of the world's most prestigious and challenging circuits. Japan. Street racing, drift championships, and Pro Tune series. A plethora of street circuits are offset by some grueling tog runs in freestyle drift environments. United States of America, or just USA. A diverse mix of styles built around power and speed, from stock car to street GT. There's also Race Day. Players can set up a single race to their desired specifications. There's multiplayer, which I didn't play because the server shut down many years ago, so I'm not gonna talk about them here. What about the cars? There are 43 cars available in Race Driver Grid for use in all modes, with each car having unique characteristics and associated to specific racing disciplines. Additional 18 vehicles would be made available in downloadable content packs, although they can only be used in online and quick race modes. And yeah, that was the very quick overview. I guess I can talk about them in detail now. And I really mean it when I say that I've just covered the basics, because there is so much content in this game. If I wanted to talk about every single thing that happens in the game, the video would be 10 hours long. And obviously I don't want to make this video 10 hours long. So how can I talk about this in detail without spending too much time? I have no idea, but I can try. Oh boy, I'm gonna regret this. Let's talk about this more in depth. The first race. After choosing a name for for your character, players are put into a Raven Vest Dodge Viper SRT-10 for a one-lap race in San Francisco in order to earn free rookie licenses for each region: USA, Europe, and Japan (ARL), Euro, and J-Speed. After that, you have driver offers. After getting a tour of the rookie garage, the player races for other teams to earn $80,000 in order to make their own team and to restore the Ford Mustang Boss 302 that the manager bought. For both of the objectives that the team want are completed, the player earns about 10,000 plus a few more thousand depending on used flashbacks. The reputation earned is about 200 depending on the chosen difficulty. Players can accept new driver offers for the other teams at any future point in the career to try out different cars and racing styles. Then you set up the team. After the player's first car is restored, the team name have to be chosen as well as branding, which includes colors, pattern, and race number. The team's livery branding can also be altered later by the player. The first few races will be either Pro Muscle or Classic Muscle in accordance with the Ford Mustang Boss 302 eligible disciplines. Okay, sorry about that small lag there. For winning the events, players earn about 18,000 reputation and more than $30,000 if flashbacks are not used and completing sponsorships. Oh man, I also have to talk about the reputation, the money, the garage, the cars, the teammate, the driver and team leaderboards, the 24 hours of Le Mans, the Raven West. I really don't want to talk about this. I'm telling you, the video will be incredibly long if I do this. You know what, maybe I should just stop complaining and do it. Here goes nothing. Reputation. Players earn a reputation by successfully competing in different events, with the amount of it being higher the better players race. Reputation unlocks new licenses in each region, allowing to enter more events. There are 4 separate reputation pools, one for each region, and a global pool, which is the player's total accumulated reputation across all regions. Only reputation in a region's pool counts towards earning a new license in that region. For instance, to unlock Euro B license, 80,000 reputation must be earned in Euro region alone. Players will become the top driver in the world when their reputation is higher than everybody else. There's the money. Money can be earned as prize for each race, sponsorship payments, and entering driver offers for other teams. It can be used to buy new cars and to hire a teammate for the player's team. Something about the sponsors, oh boy. After completing events in the Grid World mode, 2 or 3 new potential sponsorships will approach. They offer money for having their logo as a part of the team's livery, as well as for achieving specific requirements in each race, which varies between sponsors. These objectives can vary from just finishing the race to winning the race without taking any damage. There are a total of 8 sponsorships that the player's team can have at one time, 7 minor and 1 major, which pays double of what a minor sponsorship would pay. These sponsorships would pay between $1,500 to $200,000 on a minor sponsorship alone. After each race in a championship, a screen that showed what sponsorships were completed and how much is earned from each. Let's talk about the garage. Players will start the career at the rookie garage, which will be expanded upon earning 80,000 reputation to accommodate a teammate. It receives a further and final upgrade upon earning $250,000 reputation. The garage is always visible in the background of the game's menus, and in each of the 3 variations has a distinctive theme song and aesthetic. Cars. What about buying the cars? To buy new cars, players must select new events which they don't have eligible cars. The vehicles will be shown and players must decide to buy either new or on eBay Motors. New cars have 0 miles on the clock, but cost the full listed price. eBay Motors offers used cars, so players has to check their history to decide if it is a bargain. Selling the cars. Players can sell cars privately at any instant sale, although at lower cash, or announce it at eBay Motors, which will take longer to sell, but at a higher amount of cash. Teammates. After earning 80,000 reputation points in one region, a new selection of events is unlocked and the manager hires the player's first teammate. A second copy of every car will be purchased alongside purchasing new cars, and a second copy of cars already purchased is purchased for free for the teammate to use. The teammate will race alongside the player in every race except for driver offers freelancing. For every race completed, the teammate will double the potential team's sponsorship winnings, although they will also take a percentage of his own winnings. Players can always fire their teammate and hire a new one at a signing fee. Driver and team leaderboards. There's not much to say here, but I'm gonna talk about it anyway. The goal of Grid World is to become the number 1 ranked driver and race team, and the leaderboard will display the ranked order of each driver and team based on their reputation and season earnings respectively. 24 hours Le Mans. Oh boy, I really don't wanna talk about this. You know what, I'll just give you the abridged version. After 4 events, players reach the end of a season, and a screen after choosing either the race events or driver offers will show describing the 24 hours of Le Mans. It gives 3 options: drive with the team's car, take a driver offer for another team, or to just skip the 24 hours of Le Mans. The event is an endurance race taking place at the Circuit de la Sarthe, and cars are divided in 4 classes, with prizes being awarded for individual classes winnings and overall race. Reputation earned in Le Mans will go to the global pool. At the beginning of the player's Grid World career, the driver offers will be for the GT2 class. As reputation and money earned grows, the offers will be higher classes from GT1 to LMP1. The 24 hours of Le Mans has the most cars per racing grid at 18 racers. The classes are divided. LMP1 gets the start position, selecting an LMP1 car race days and setting the position to front, will show you in first place. Oh, and there's also versus Raven West. I'm not gonna say a lot here because most of it's self-explanatory. After all events in a certain license are completed, a head-to-head challenge with a Raven West Motorsport driver will be unlocked. Each event gives up multi-million dollar prizes for winning the race. Wow, I had a lot to say about those. Okay, I guess I can just talk about the gameplay now. I mean, the events are a part of the gameplay, but what about the driving, the physics, the vehicle handling? The driving overall, the game is a simcade, first of all. So that means it's between arcade and simulation for those who don't know. The driving, physics and the vehicle handling feel very smooth in this game. Well, most of the time. I should mention that for this video I turned almost every single assist off. The only one I left on is the traction control. Because when you play without it, your car spins around like crazy on every single turn. This makes the game unplayable. That's why I had to leave traction control on, because I just couldn't turn. I was constantly spinning out, and that's what I didn't want. I just don't want to spin out. But then again, no one wants to spin out. I was also playing on the extreme difficulty and with Pro mode enabled. Pro mode basically disables flashbacks entirely. If I was playing without this Pro mode and just on extreme difficulty, well, I would only have one flashback. But just so you know, I wanted to challenge myself. And that's why I was losing every single time in this footage. So I'm sorry that you have to watch me losing every single time because I underestimated the highest difficulty in the game. Yeah, again, sorry about that. Like I've said before, the driving, the physics, the vehicle handling are very good. The handling is simcade and it really feels like you're playing a simcade game. The simcade nature of this game was captured perfectly in Race Driver Grid. You can reach the top speed without any problems, but there are also times when you have to just slow down. You can't just rush through everything. Unless you're playing on a lower difficulty, of course. But still, you can't just rush through. You have to drive smartly. That's the best way I can describe the handling. As a matter of fact, the driving, physics and vehicle handling are so good that I just can't put those into words, honestly. What can I say about it? All I can say is well, go watch other YouTubers or other reviews of the game. I'm pretty sure they can describe this feeling better than I can. Now I am going to take a huge risk and sound like a fanboy. Here we go. The disciplines are very well thought out. Every single discipline offers something different, and there's so many of them that you will never run out of content and you will never get bored. That's how well designed it is. The damage models are amazing. When you crash into something, everything feels heavy and impactful. It's like, you can also accidentally oof yourself, and that's why you have to use the flashback to continue the race. So yeah, the damage model is amazing in terms of design. It not only affects how your car looks, but also your gameplay, how the vehicle behaves. So that's also nice to see. The difficulty levels are a bit unbalanced if you ask me, even on lower difficulties. Sometimes they can just overtake you even if you're doing everything perfectly. But that's why the flashback comes in place. And I have to talk a bit more about the flashback because this is a feature introduced in this game, and this is also a feature that revolutionized the racing game genre. As I've mentioned before, it's basically a replay. You can rewind a small portion of the replay, then you press a certain key or button, and then you are put in that spot where you paused. This is very good because it can save you a lot of time and frustration. You can fix your mistakes very easily. This is a very good feature, and it really shows because every single racing game developer wanted to implement that feature in their games. Sometimes they did it better than in this game, but most of the time it was done worse. Driving views are amazing, although I prefer to use the chase camera because it gives me the highest FOV. The game modes are all amazing. There are so many different game modes like, drift, normal races, all of those stuff I've mentioned before. All of this is well made. The cars are not only well designed, but they also control very well. Except if you remove the traction control, then they are just unusable. Maybe that's just my opinion on this, but that's genuinely how I feel. Not only they all look different, but they also behave different. They are distinct. So sometimes you can easily fall in love with one of the cars and use it for the rest of the game, or you just can go as experiment. There are no limits. The racetracks are very well designed. Some of them are just go straight ahead, use your top speed, and sometimes you have those short technical courses. Sometimes you have flat tarmac tracks, sometimes you have inclines and declines. Everything you can think of is in this game. I know I sound like a huge fanboy right now, but that's how I feel. I wish I could have described the core gameplay better, but I just can't. So now after all of this, you're probably thinking to yourself, is there anything I disliked about this game? There are some things. Like I've mentioned before, the difficulty can be a bit unbalanced even on lower difficulties. So yeah, but that's pretty much the only bad thing gameplay wise. What about other stuff? You probably noticed that the game looks different than it did back then. And it does. I have removed the post-processing effects and the yellow filter. How to remove it? You go to the profile, hardware settings, the folder where you install the game. You open the hardware settings config with a text editor. Then you change post-process enabled true blur true to post-process enabled false blur false. And yeah, those are pretty much the only things I have a problem with. Otherwise, the game is almost perfect. Almost. Even though I couldn't explain it very well, I think it's time to answer the question. How good is Race Driver Grid really? It's very good. It's a game that absolutely everyone should play. In fact, go get it right now. You hear me? Right now. It's a bit hard to get because physical copies are kinda rare nowadays. Most PC players don't even have optical drives at this point. But the game is still available on the Zoom platform. So go buy it there. It's DRM free and go enjoy the game. It's very good. Amazing graphics for 2008. And there's no story, but I think there's no story. But it doesn't really matter, and the gameplay is amazing. It's very smooth. This is the kind of gameplay that even Codemasters wasn't able to recreate. Not in Grid 2, not in Grid 2019, and not in Grid Legends. Yeah, it's that good. This is why you should go play it. Go play it right now. But that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to say in this analysis video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.